that's what we had. So thanks, Swifty. And I think there's been a lot of people texting in. And what's always nice about these is to take away that little thing. There's a suite of kind of tweets from people saying, hey, I might go home and create my own alphabet. It's a nice little project to have if you're thinking, oh, what can I do to, to fill in my time because I'm young and everything needs to happen now. Good. In a couple of minutes. So, ladies and gentlemen, one announcement actually, there's been a change in the program. Monkeys, that's what the other masturbatory theme was. Monkey, they've missed their plane. So rather than presenting this afternoon, this flight's going to be taken at 5:45, I think, by Wallpaper. So Wallpaper are presenting this afternoon. If you know anyone who was really particularly looking forward to them tomorrow and they aren't here, maybe a good idea to send them a message to say, look, Wallpaper is actually presenting, I think it's in the last spot. Yes, the last 5:45 today. So that has just been a case of a flight incident. And so rather than having you stare at nothing for 45 minutes, which in many ways, it's the GC. A documentary. Put that in place, mate. Shit. Oh, my pen just ejaculated off. I put myself into a hole. They're two quite good-looking guys. Initially I thought either they are narcissistic homosexuals or twins. I don't know. Turns out that they are twins. Ladies and gentlemen, they're all the way from Sydney. They said when we're not designing and band hunting, they enjoy drinking mystery beer, painting babushka dolls, and getting to wear winter clothes in layers. Who doesn't not enjoy that? They have joined together after having worked separately for some years to create Moffitmoffit, and they are here now, creative directors from Moffitmoffit. Will you please welcome Andrew and Mark?
Yeah, that was a nice introduction. I have to remember that one. Maybe we should dull down the fashion and the winter layers anyway. Let's get our water sorted. There we go. So, let's begin. Hey everyone, thanks for having us over to Auckland. It's great to be here. It's my first time in Auckland. It's not Mark's first time, but he can't remember last time because he got so trashed. But it's a job. Yeah. Thanks for having us over here, and thanks to Semi-Permanent for having us here. Thanks to you guys for coming along. So, we are Moffitmoffit, as we've been introduced, and it consists of myself, Andrew, and this is Mark. Hi guys. Often people ask us what we do. That's why we got the introduction we got, because they can't really quantify what we do. But in a certain sense, we call ourselves, as it says on the screen, we call ourselves creative directors, because at the core of it, people come to us with challenges. We solve them creatively. And sometimes we're called graphic designers, but really at the end of the day, graphic design just represents a real small fraction of what we do every day. A lot of our time is spent thinking, talking, observing and directing. So creative direction is really a term that really does sum up what we do. We also spend a lot of time performing a whole bunch of different roles. We're like the directors, we're the receptionists, we clean the toilets.
He cleans the toilet.
He washes the dishes, and kind of, if we pull that all together, we're kind of what we call ourselves a balance of the three Steves.
And so the first Steve is, it's a pretty big comparison, but think of a phone, an iPad, put them together, what do you get them?
We were going to wear black skivvies, but it didn't work out.
But like Steve Jobs, what we try to do, Steve Jobs comes out in us, we try. Anyway, you get the picture. But we like him, we like the partnership intelligence with our creativity in everything we do, every execution. We also have an element of Steve McQueen, which is so popular right now, Jimmy Supporter. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Google it. But Steve McQueen is a bit of an icon for us and always has been because he's got huge testicles. He's brash, he's brave, he doesn't mind challenging the status quo.
He's a rebel. He really had some balls and challenged conventions a lot when he was around.
And so we admire that. The last Steve I want to talk about, the last of the trilogy, is Steve Irwin. We're always trying to keep that in the background. You'll probably see a little bit of Steve Irwin right now. Because at the end of the day, we're actually two boys from the Burbs in Sydney. We're Australian, just like you are proud to be Kiwis, and anyone from their place of origin. We're proud to be Australian, and we're proud to have a point of view that is influenced by where we come from. So when all of these characteristics combine, our work is really as much about us as it is about our clients and their products and their services they're trying to communicate. And essentially that's why our name is on the front door, because all of our work is really truly a reflection of us and what we do. We're going to be fighting over buttons and so on. Vicky, Outdoors have, as we were introduced, we've started our own company. Outdoors have been open for about 18 months now, which is not a long time, but a lot can happen in 18 months. But as you can see by the picture, two Harry Highpens, it actually started, the dress sense hasn't changed. It actually started probably about 33 years ago. This week was our birthday this week. I should say only 25 years ago. Don't really, 33 years ago. But we see our lives as a kind of great bromance. I was going to put it in the accent, but you just all hate me for that. So like everyone at this audience, there's the old traditional idea that everyone has a story of highs and lows, and here's something you can probably all identify with, Andrew. So early years we spent a lot of time, drawing and painting and developing a real passion for creativity. And our parents were really supportive of that, which was great. We went through puberty together. We went through high school together. We studied and lived together at university, which was really cool. Life is full of highs and lows, like some real lows, like really low points. Damn you, Cha-Cha. But you get over that, you get over it, you keep going. And we graduated, which was really cool. And then we spent a couple of years travelling, getting drunk and all that kind of stuff. And then you kind of hit reality and you say, geez, I've got this degree, I've got to go get a job, I've actually got to find a job. And then when you find that job, you kind of start to realise that creativity truly does become an all-consuming force on your life. And I think most people would agree that life as a creative person is full of highs and lows. There's things like deadlines and clients and long hours, like all your other mates who are in some other profession go home at 5 o'clock and you're there till 10 o'clock, kerning type together and making sure that's red or that's blue, or why is it blue, why is it red, blue, red, blue. Or maybe cool grey, or warm grey. But I think the cool thing about that is there's all those kind of challenges, being part of a creative person, all those challenges that it brings. It's brought us here today. Don't scratch that big sit on the side of me. But those challenges are what brought us here today, and we're going to talk through a few things. So, and depending on this presentation, who knows where we're going to end up. But I think I can guarantee we'll end up at a local watering hole and actually dancing on a table or something else. So really part of this discussion is how our failures have led to some of our biggest triumphs. And through this presentation, we're going to share a couple of the things we've learned along the way. Our work is an important mix of different clients, big clients, small clients, with different budgets, same as small, large budgets, and different ideas. We don't have one creative process in our studio for that very fact. Every client is different, and every piece of work we do doesn't really have a sense of style or a house style. They all come naturally because that's so they should be. We figure if our process is fluid and flexible, then so are all our ideas and our outcomes. So we're going to talk about the kind of projects we really like working on. The first one at Moffitmoffit, we really like to seduce people with beauty and intelligence. We like probably most of you out there, really love creating work that's beautiful and intriguing and enchanting, and let's face it, let's do cool kind of work. But we're also really focused on what the work is saying and the message behind that particular work, what's the thought behind that. And basically kind of the opinion that something shouldn't just look good, it also has to say something or do something. So that's something we try and focus on every day. This particular project here is called I Spy, and it was done for a print company in Sydney. And on this particular project, we wanted people to look at our work and find meaning in themselves, to look into the work and find their own meaning in it. This project was all about the possibilities of print, and so we asked people to literally see what they wanted to see in the printed page in front of them. It was all about image making and perception and trying to shift people's perception about what they saw on the page. Was it a bird? Was it a skull? Was it a person? It was about being really romantic and opulent and making it look amazing, but it really was about making people think about the role of a printer as a person who brings ideas to life and not just some smelly dude who sits in a machine churning out paper.
They can be smelly.
They can be smelly. That's definitely true. So instead of a brochure about service and reliability, which is really, in my opinion, a ticket of entry in anything these days, there's the things that everyone should have as part of their business, we managed to create this whole extensive book that was all about mystery and intrigue. And the great thing about that is that the printer adopted this approach. And during this period when printers were basically dying every single day, this
GFC,
yeah. I don't know whether you got that, it's a GFC, not the GFC. But in this period of time, this printer actually expanded and got bigger and larger. So it was really an example of the fact that creativity is actually really good for business, and that's another thing we really strongly believe in.
I think we like projects, or like to work on projects that take us to new destinations, such as today here in Auckland. New destinations provide fresh influences, opportunities to meet new people, such as we're meeting today on stage and meeting you in the audience. What they do is they challenge the way you think, they give you new ways of thinking, they challenge what you already know, and lead us to not only new destinations physically, but in your own head space. Which sounds kind of fruity, but it's true. We have a love affair with Japan. It's people, it's art, it's culture, it's udon noodles. Andrew loves the shopping there, so that's what we can address and compliment. So when Clinicare, which is a huge global skincare brand or beauty range, asked us to create a showcase of a new range of Japanese products, well, it was very easy to jump on the next plane and go to Japan. We translated our travelling experiences into the design and created a story around the process and the products of the journey. So it's not rocket science. I think what we're trying to say is travelling and travelling projects is a big part of what we do. I'm not saying we're global jet setters or anything like that, but we try and weave them every time into our projects. There's always an opportunity, which leads us to the next piece of work. I think also, while we're on the topic of Japan, we're always finding reasons to create projects wherever we go. I think it's about actively seeking out projects and making them happen rather than allowing them to come to you. This is an example of a small film project we did with Tokyo Bike, who sells Japanese bikes throughout Europe and Australia and Asia Pacific region. And this is really about when they opened up their Sydney store, we formed a conversation. We said, we're going over to Tokyo, would you like to collaborate on this small film? And we made it happen. It was just about a day riding through Tokyo. And they took us around to all their stores in the world and had it projected and all that kind of stuff. It's a very humble little project, but it was lots of fun. We also like to work on projects that merge art and information, but they merge those two things to create a sense of change. And one day our client G asked us to find out what every Australian hoped for in their future. It was quite a big question they asked us to find out. And so we created a project called the 2 Words for Tomorrow project. And it asked all Australians to submit in just 2 words online what they thought was the biggest challenge facing Australia's future. Sorry, this is a bit Australian-centric, by the way. And what we wanted to find out, what people were really concerned about, and was it a cleaner environment? Was it smarter politicians? And as the information started flowing in, we actually started to realise people wanted cheaper beer. That was way up there. So you have a lot of great power, you must choose wisely on the 2 words, which sounds quite poetic, but it was true. When you ask someone to define what they want in the future of their life and their country with just 2 words, we get some interesting answers, and we will see some of these answers later on. Next slide, please. Next slide. So, when you start deciphering and these thousands and thousands of words start coming in from across the nation, you really get to understand what the whole nation is thinking. And with GE, the whole point of the project was to find out what people were thinking, and through their technology and products and services, they can actually change the world to make a difference. So,
We also wanted more than just a microsite or an online ecosystem, which is a website. We wanted to create something in the real world, and so we decided to capture people's attention in a physical way with a huge I'm a little bit nervous, I'm reading my notes here. We wanted to capture people's attention with a huge public art installation that people could see and touch and contribute to. You can see that on screen now. We call it the word waterfall. People from all over Australia were entering their words. It was an interactive light sculpture that took data from all across Australia, so people were streaming it in live, their 2 words, and represented that in an organic and beautiful and ever-changing response. We kind of started to think about it, and it actually was a big brain's trust of the whole experience. So all these words were coming in from across Australia into this one brain repository. And we started to get beautiful shapes, and we'll show you the motion on this on the next slide. This is how it would. So we collaborated with Field in the UK, who did the data visualisation. And again, this is an example of why we call ourselves creative directors. We weren't going to open a manual and start working out how to do data visualisation. We went to some of the best people in the world and said, we're creating this project. Here's our creative vision. Come and collaborate with us and work with us and create something amazing. So the actual streams of consciousness, which is what we call them, would actually respond and change. No animation sequence was ever the same. They would always respond to every word that was coming in and how those words actually funneled into themes and topics and how they were actually grafted together to create the bigger ideas behind the project. The topic had a flurry of words basing around it. They'd be in the flurry, they'd represent a flurry on the screen. So, flurry. Let's just go to the next slide. McFlurry. Could sell that. Let's see, currently, it was just positioned in Melbourne, it's going to be in Sydney soon. I think this next piece of video, if you just look at that, gives an idea of how people start to react to it. It actually tells the story better than us.
My 2 words were water and management.
The 2 words I picked were climate change.
I show you as well markets.
My 2 words were house prices, because I'm worried that I'm never going to be able to afford a house.
Gender inequality.
Indigenous acceptance.
And I think the installation is just really, really gorgeous.
It's a beautiful installation, and I'd like to know what people's ideas were, what their main concerns were.
Standard government.
I put 3 separation because I feel like the number one thing that we need to know is that we're all one.
Dynamic and energy.
My 2 words were living costs, homelessness, and safety.
I chose those because it's a massive problem here in Melbourne.
The 2 words I chose were be optimistic. I think we've got a great country, we've got lots going for us. We just need to take the chance of developing ourselves, being more innovative, being more productive, and fulfil the dream of being the best place in the world to live.
You guys might argue with that. There we go. Thank you. I know that really is a truly exciting project when a brand like that allows you to do something amazing like that. We're very proud of it, so thanks for that. We also enjoy working with like-minded people. We work with fashion designers, We work with some iconic Australian fashion designers like Carl Paddy, who's been around for a very, very long time. We also work with young up-and-comers, a guy called Eva-Lareine, who's a swimwear designer. We look after the art direction and design of his seasonal campaigns. Put a chair on your head. Do it. One for the girls now. So sorry, no, it's not all about chicks in bikini. And we also work with fashion retailers. One of our favourite clients is a brand called Surf Stitch, and that was started in the backyard of the Northern Beaches in Sydney. They're a small little startup. Since that, 3 years ago, they've gone on to become the world's largest online surf store, and basically these guys don't have to work a day in their life anymore. So it was a really exciting process to be part of something like that. I think what Andrew's saying is we like to realise people's ideas and have that creative partnership that can take where creativity and commerce meets to produce something fantastic. You know, we support artists and curators. There are other people we like to work with. That's why we created a place called Mark Gallery in Sydney. It's a place where music and art come together, as you just saw in those little titles. We created not only that look and feel, but the space and the design around it. We exhibit in there ourselves. We like to work with photographers. As you see, a lot of our work is heavily involved with photography. This is Gary Geary, a fantastic friend of ours. He's actually one of our main mentors. He's a bit of a national icon, but no one knows about him. But he shot Madonna's first album cover, which you can see up there, that no one will know about, but he's just a fantastic person to work with, like we all have other inspirations with the people we work with. We also really like to work with musicians. It's a really amazing collaboration to work with musicians because we're really translating their sound into sight, which we think is a really interesting process, getting to understand musicians, who they are, what they do, and just to the core of the simplicity of what their music is, how do we actually visualise that is a really interesting process. We love creating a series of album covers because we can actually have more of a ongoing relationship, but there's also a narrative through those, and you get to actually flesh out an idea just beyond one little flash. You can actually see that idea come to life. Now we also like to get flamethrowers and photograph flame balls and then throw people's faces on them and all that kind of stuff. These are the cool things you get to do when you take an idea to a record label and say, we want to set something on fire. It's like Swifty was talking about with music, there is a real, I was going to say that terrible word, synergy, but working collaboratively with musicians is a really exciting component. There's not a lot of money in it, but it's a whole lot of creative expression. We also like to work with small businesses. This is a fantastic small bar in Sydney, underground. We did the walls, we did the services. We also like to work with the bigger end of town. I think this is a brand you guys pretty much know, and we're happy to say that we created it. Yeah, we try to avoid rugby gags and all that kind of stuff, but they might come out. But, so what I'm trying to say is, we can go from, and we think everyone in this audience should be able to work from an opportunity with a small leader around the corner, or a global leader in sport on a global scale. Each client has an equal right for the opportunity to create something expressive and different, whether it just be a logo or an entire restaurant. And that's why we work with big investment banks. We don't shy away from that. We work with big investment banks, they pay the bills. We also work with big consumer brands, like this is LJ Google, which is Australia's largest real estate brand. So there's a real stretch there. I think the other thing we like to do is really evolve ways of thinking. A lot of the time, we're brought in to help guide a business through a period of change. Most of the time it's when they don't really know who they are or what they're saying and what they're doing. They've just been doing the same thing for so long, they've lost sight of what they're trying to achieve. And a lot of what we do is helping people understand that, the heart and soul of the company isn't exactly about the product that gets shipped out the door. There's more important things going on in a business. That's where we came in and helped Warner Music articulate who they are and what they stood for, and this is a set of communications guidelines that we put together for them, for all their staff and all their media partners. Basically did something that had never been done internationally, which was kind of crazy after we found out, and looked at the whole history, the lineage of the company, all the amazing artists that they were responsible for, and how that matched up against all the crazy things that have happened in the world in the music industry. Everything from the invention of the cassette tape to Napster to obviously iTunes and how that revolutionised things. We showed them new ways to talk to each other, some new values of the business put together for them through a workshop. And most importantly, we made them realise that digital age wasn't so scary after all. We were going to play the sound, I was like, I love this track. It's good. Play the sound. But I think Andrew touched on that point before that music companies like this shack themselves with iTunes. Swifty touched on that before, with all the revolution in the music industry, but they just have to reshift the way they were thinking and find their place within music and within the hearts of all of us and how we all love music. We also like to be involved in projects where we can express our own views and opinions. Some of the ways to do that is creating exhibitions of your own. This is a bubble about this big. I know it's this big because Andrew managed to blow it. But this is part of an exhibition that we did in Martin Gallery, the small music and art gallery we created. And it looked at the relationships between excess and restraint in the music industry. So, like Swifty, I keep saying Swifty, but we have a lot of injection with and partnership with the music industry. We called it No More, as you saw before. It was a series of posters, as I said, representing the excess and restraint of the music industry. And what it did was question the relationship between music and individuality, music and sex, music and money, sharing music or are we stealing music, and music and originality. The concept start base for this was Britney Spears. I'm not going to make your own mind up on what that means. We're not going to explain each other. Another thing we really like to do is empower people. As creatives and designers, we have the opportunity to be storytellers, but sometimes we find that you have to really go out there and find the story. And we found a group of people who really inspired us, so we decided to make a project around it. And even though they were only 14 years old, listening to them really made us question how we perceive things in the world, which is a great experience. Now, Mark and I, we really love projects that really remind us how amazing it is to be reckless and how awesome it is to be young and naive. We're 33, I know. It's not young. Yeah, but it's good to be reminded of that. You lose that. The older you get, the more you're supposed to understand that risk is not a good thing. So young people understand how amazing risk can be, and that's something we need to remind ourselves of. I think we try and be fearless. I think a cool story behind this is I remember we were photographing these young artists at a school concert with Stephen Moore, the photographer, and I walked in through the door to come and look at how the shot was being set up. And one of the young students said, "Who the fuck invited the assistant principal?" And I was like, now here I am, I was 24, 25, and I thought, oh yeah, I'm cool. And this kid just cut me down. Like, bang. But it was like, what a great line. Like, I would have said that when he said it. It made me laugh more than anything. It was great. It was really good. And some of the worst ideas come from heading down the wrong direction. You know, I think that's a really great thing to remember. And the question is where is this guy heading? I don't think he's heading that way. He might be heading that way. But there was something about this shot that was like a real fuck you moment, which I really liked. Something about it, just the raw fearlessness of that was really cool. We also like to use our minds and our hands. We like to get our hands dirty. We like to build things and shape things. We don't just sit with computers. Sometimes selling a product is actually is all about how you can use it in really interesting ways. This is us using a product in an interesting way. We're using paper in an interesting way. Rally Paper, the paper company, now being bought by BJ Ball. They're a New Zealand company, I think. So you guys probably know who BJ Ball is. They asked us to kind of talk about their business and do some marketing for us. So when they said, kind of sum up our business, we simply said, well, you bring paper to us, and we bring paper to life. So that formed the kind of catch cry for all the material that we created. There's nothing like having a 5-metre paper sculpture take up your apartment for 3 months. But it was so worth it, we enjoyed it. It was great. And I think the imagery is really fantastic. It's all just a series of artworks and studies around paper. All this is made out of paper. I think, returning to some analogue techniques like drawing and building and crafting in a 2D space, a 3D space, we think they're really important skills. It's all fine to jump on the tools on the computer, but we think far more. I'm having a really serious moment.
Yeah.
It's really serious.
We need to speed things up, dude, seriously.
Okay, 12 minutes, okay, go. But you got to have fun. You have to have fun, you can't always be serious. I think there's one thing that Mark always says, well, you're just a fucking creative. You're not a doctor. You're not in there standing over someone in a surgery saving their life. So just enjoy it. So overall, the projects we truly love are the ones that have kind of really changed things in our business. And we have one project that's done that. It's kind of shaped our whole identity, our business, the way we perceive things, our process, and practically everything we do. It's called Demo, and it's a large format magazine that we publish on paper, a music magazine, sorry, I forgot that. And we publish it online as well. It features emerging and undiscovered Australian artists. And we wanted to share with you just how it came to life, because it might actually influence how you bring something to life. It's a bit of an interesting story. So our biggest achievement with Demo was actually making it happen in the first place. There are so many barriers, like a brick wall. Standing in front of you.
High concept.
That stands in front of you gets in the way of things happening, such as work and other things in your life, such as stress and clients and energy and money and all that stands in the way as well. But sometimes you have to stop talking about these ideas and go out and do it. And we've got this quote from a Melbourne street poet called Pio. It really resonates with us, and we say it all the time, if you do nothing, well, then nothing's going to happen. So it inspired us to go ahead and do something. But like a lot of great journeys, as we said at the start of this presentation, Demo started with a few mistakes. Demo didn't actually start as Demo at all. It started as a publication called Boys and Girls.
Boys and Girls was a ridiculously cool fashion and culture magazine. It was all about sculpting your hair to casual perfection. It was about real issues like the latest designer trends and pet accessories. And it was about where to buy foolishly cool stuff. It was aimed at the self-regarding best-of-breed early adopters. Trend diffusers, opinion leaders, fashion influentials. And once all these guys had picked it up, then the fashion-savvy mainstream would pick up the scraps. It was a guarantee.
This is actually from a press release we received a couple of months ago for a real product, so this is kind of funny, we thought we'd use it. And as you can see, we shot a whole bunch of stuff, and we used, most importantly, we used 3D letters, which is like the pinnacle of cool, like 3D letters. But we weren't just using 3D letters, we were using huge 3D letters. That was waist high even. Yeah. Even if it's not saying anything cool, it's still cool. But like, the funny thing is that that's not cool at all. Like, anything we just said on the last two slides isn't cool. And I think that when someone says, hey, I'm cool, you go, you're not cool. Like, who the hell says they're cool? That's one thing we say in our studio. As soon as you say something's cool, it's not. That's how it is. It's true if someone came up to you in the street and said, I'm cool. Heck. So we started to feel a little sick about it, because even we couldn't really encapsulate what we're trying to do with this thing, boys and girls. And we couldn't even actually say what it stood for or what it really believed in. And that was a huge problem. It was just doing everything that any other publication was doing, and probably doing a lot better than us. So one night, 3 days after this shoot with all the letters, we'd done a number of shoots actually. We wasted a whole lot of money. We laid it all out on the ground in front of them and realised, wow, this is a huge pile of self-indulgent shit. And we thought, like, are we really going to cut down some trees for this? Are we going to burn some energy online for this? What are we doing? It's shit. And it meant nothing. It said nothing, so how could we justify doing it? Yeah, we realised we couldn't just put it out there. We had to be responsible for it. And it's very easy to say, I did that thing over there. But for us, it was about saying, well, we're responsible for this. It's harder to say, I'm responsible for this piece of work, which is how we should all live our lives. You're responsible for every piece of work you do. And at that moment, we realised we had to throw everything out the window and start again. So that's actually what we did. We got these letters, we fucking threw them out. They'll take up our apartment. We just pushed them out of our fourth floor
That's
window.
really down there.
It was pissing
Raining,
down.
it's like-
And like the funniest thing was, the next day all the trend diffusers and the opinion leaders were stealing them off the front lawn so they could put them in their like living room, quite, 3D letters, really cool. But the reality was it was an epic fail, and we're so happy to admit that. It was a total stuff up. We spent like $5 grand on this bloody thing, but we said we've got to start again, we've got to throw it out the window. So it felt a bit like this. Like the flames were there, we felt the flames.
Keynote flames.
Yeah, and you've got to use those keynote things, you've got to have to use them. It was really embarrassing, it was like pretty painful, and it was
Brick wall.
yeah, and like this, it kind of knocked us to the ground, but when you hit rock bottom, everything kind of becomes a lot clearer. So we decided to do what we should have done in the first place and set ourselves a brief so we can measure our ideas and learn from our mistakes and actually build something that had a purpose and meaning. The first thing we put down as an objective was, how can we help? Which means, and by this we mean, instead of helping ourselves, our project had to help someone or something else. How can we give other people a voice instead of promoting stuff and ourselves? The second part was, how can we channel our creativity? It's got to be much more of a channel than showing cool stuff. We've got to channel our own creativity because we're working as creative directors in other large companies at the time, and that certainly wasn't doing it for us. So this had to be an outlet for our unresolved ideas and talents. The next one was about creating a new frontier. So we had to throw ourselves into something new, something that we hadn't really done before. It needed to be really exciting for us, and we need to open up a few doors in different sectors or areas that we hadn't really worked in before. And fourth of all, we need to collaborate. Collaboration was a really key part of it. We wanted to find inspiration in new relationships, new ways of thinking, new perspective and new opinions. So literally hours after writing that brief, we were heading out to a gig up the road from where we were living at the time. And we hadn't been to one for a while, and we just had that epic fail, so we weren't even in the right mood to go out. But we ended up going, and we walked into the venue, and it was our hotel. Yeah, that's right. And there was a band named the Helsinki Glamours that were belting it out on stage, and what we saw in them really, in some ways, electrified us. They showed us passion. From the audience, we could see their youth, their determination, just like the guys that we saw before. The theatre of the whole event, the music, the screaming, the reality, the rawness, the sweat, and the pure talent that was pumping out off the stage. And in some ways, the pure desperation these guys had. They were musicians, this is what they were doing for a living. They weren't getting hardly anything for it. And as Andrew mentioned before, the fearlessness was a huge part of it as well. So we went home from the gig and we came up with a description that could encapsulate everything we were trying to do. And we said, what we're trying to do is create a film clip on paper. And that single kind of idea is really what allowed us to go on every next level and have a clear understanding of what we were doing. And our project was going to be a quick insight to who an artist is and what they stand for. So like I said, a film clip on paper. The name Demo fell out of the same conversation. It was so simple. It wrapped up all of our ideas about finding new music and new talent. And in one night, our whole kind of idea had changed direction and reformed in something much more solid and much more meaningful. And not long after that performance that we went to, the Helsinki Glamours, the band that was at the hotel, they actually made it onto the front cover of the magazine. So it was kind of meant to be in a lot of ways. So Demo was really a reaction to what was going on at the time. Hey guys. A new type of artist was really emerging around the world. And part of the music community was really being neglected. Pubs were closing down, poker machines, this is in Australia in particular, poker machines were putting in place in band rooms. So the music scene was really dying. And these fantastic but struggling artists were being neglected. At the same time, the world of digital music was exploding, and art with music was getting completely compromised. It was getting so much smaller. This shows it quite well. 20,000 songs in your pocket, thanks Steve, was amazing, but we wanted people to feel the artwork as much as they felt the music. So we wanted our format to be large, so our artists' voices could be loud. So this idea between sound and visual had that kind of nice relationship. We're all about granting an unknown artist a platform that's usually reserved for superstars. So we got some of our best favourite photographers, like Gary Yu, the guy who shot Madonna. Our best favourite, did I say? Guys like Gary Yu to come in and shoot unknown artists, which is really cool. And as to what Mark said before, Demo was about being on your wall, as opposed to it wasn't about being in your pocket. We crossed genres as well. It was pretty simple. We didn't want to photograph like hip hop artists in alleys. If we saw another one of those press shots, kind of like guy in an alley. Alleys are so overused. We actually talked to the artist and said, you know, what's your story? What's your personality? And how can we reflect this in an article? So this is an example of Snob Skriller, an MC from the States. And he said when he got to Australia, he felt like a foreigner in a strange land. So we took him out to a desolate landscape and photographed him here. It's something he'd never really done before. We took Bridezilla, who were really close-knit family, and we transformed them into a Japanese tribal wedding party. Japan again. And then we took this guy Spot, who was like this real kaleidoscope of pop music and fizz and kind of craziness, and we created a soft drink around him and gave him his own brand in one of our stories. We took a band called the Hot Little Hands, and they were burning with ambition, which is a bit of a pun, but we went down to Melbourne and set their apartment on fire. They were hot little hands after that. And part of this, as Andrew said, was introducing these artists to photographers and earning their trust. A lot of them had never been in front of the camera, let alone, say, Gary Geary, who shot Madonna's first album cover. And trust is at the core of all these relationships in demo and in our client life. Whether it's an artist or a big brand budget client, we're shaping their identity and the essence of who they are. In terms of the design, we wanted people to find artists that were hidden amongst all the other cities and towns, so our typography started to reflect that. We wanted our letter forms to be like hanging artworks, in a sense, not just typography on a page. So we created this idea of cascading typography that fell down the page. Sometimes it was about being legible, sometimes it was about being illegible. It's just some examples of that. The demo went on to win a few awards and a few other design things, but ultimately at the end of the day, the greatest satisfaction is actually seeing someone walk in somewhere, pick it up off the ground, tuck it under their arm and walk out. And that's where we kind of find real satisfaction. How are we going for time, guys? We're right. We'll quickly wrap this up. So our demo was a big learning curve, that's why I wanted to show it to you guys today. And here's 3 things that we've learned from it that really dropped out of the demo and we practice in our daily lives. And the first one we look at is selfless promotion. This is what demo is all about. We realise that self-promotion actually works best when you're promoting someone else. So you can probably ask the semi-permanent guys, but I'm sure their whole business is built on this particular idea of promoting other people. Yeah, we believe that you get a higher personal and professional reward when you use your skills to benefit someone else. But more importantly, creating projects that actually mean something. So I think that's really important. We always have this saying, you know, to be interesting, get interested. Demo is a perfect example of that. We created Demo because we were interested in the music industry, but at the end of the day, it was the music industry that became really interested in us. The second part is, and what we say in our studio is knowledge is not power. And with the internet, knowledge has become quite a democratised commodity. It's for anyone, anywhere, anytime, which is a great thing in many ways. But with a click of a button, I can pretty much know how to do anything. This is how to cook a perfect steak. This is how to jumpstart your dreams, thanks to Oprah. We all need to know that. This is how to be popular. Andrew should look at that someday. And he says that every time, so like, I just let him say it. Yeah, that's bad. And then to the extreme of that is, I can find out with a click of a button how to create an atomic bomb. I'm not going to, I promise. But as you can see, to us, information is no longer a powerful commodity. And to us, power is today is how you creatively interpret all this information and digest it into your own ideas and your own unique opinions. For us, it's more about creativity equals power. And if this statement is true, then this is a pretty powerful book for a whole lot of powerful people in it. The last thing we actually look at is that we really love polarising people. The world is a really subjective place, and like we both think that's a really good thing. Everyone has the right to an opinion. You know, depends which way you look at things. You know, is someone who drives a Porsche tosser, or are they a white jet burner? Are you guilty or are you innocent? Are you a superstar or a psycho? You're a psycho. Anyway, I won't go there. You know, and are we passionate or are we shameless promoters? And we'll leave that up to you. That's up for you to decide. And this is where it gets a little bit warm and fuzzy, but if you believe in yourself, if you believe in yourself and your values and what you stand for, then you should feel comfortable about your own identity and the other people's perception of it. We don't mind being called either of these things, and this is the reason why. Because the last thing we want to be is an insignificant line in the middle. I think being in the middle is okay, but unfortunately, okay is really forgettable. And I think if you're forgettable, you kind of don't stand for anything. You're not
This is not a commentary on fame. It's just if you don't stand for anything and have a point of view, then you meld into the vanilla.
Yeah. The way we say to ourselves is like, we can't be all things to all people. So we might as well just be ourselves. And if that polarises people, that's a really good thing. We believe in standing for something, whether someone loves it or hates it. And we think love and hate are two great words. And if people hate our work, that's great. If people love it, that's great too. So, hopefully you love this presentation. See you at the pub. Let us know if we failed or succeeded.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.